Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Chocolate Sane, Sleeping Warrior, Paul Hall, 10th Man, I think Righteous Force has disappeared, but a whole bunch of people in Discord as well, so welcome one and all.
Hey. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello. Any evidence of a physical Earth curve edge capable of geometric measurement?
No.
Nah.
Any signs of any Earth curvature?
Not from
no.
Ojai.
Lots of apparent horizons that are claimed to be Earth curve, but no actual curvature.
Any signs of axial rotation?
Only if you look at the stars and fantasize.
That's scientific evidence of gravity.
I can't even define gravity, Nathan, let alone demonstrate it.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology or astrophysics?
Not yet.
No.
Any evidence?
Seat of the pants.
Guesswork?
That's full of them.
Leaps of logic.
Any evidence of the R
Somebody
value?
just woke up.
Who woke up?
Go out and make an observation of the horizon, and you'll be there with an R value.
Or is that
What R
evidence?
value?
Is that evidence of the R value?
Yeah, because you can work out the R value from just an observation of the dip angle. Simple.
Dip angle?
Oh, really? Dip angle to what?
To the horizon.
Which horizon? The apparent horizon or the geometric horizon?
Well, you can only see the apparent horizon, but if the conditions are sufficiently favourable and you're up high, then that's reasonably close to the geometric horizon to mean that you can do a quick calculation to get R. As Al Bruni
So
did.
on the Black Swan, if we were to get a theodolite and measure the dip angle, we would be measuring it to 10 times greater than what the actual horizon, the geometric horizon, would be at. What would that do
Correct.
to the maths for the size of the Earth?
You don't pick a day like that for the Black Swan.
Oh, so you cherry pick one that fits your model, right?
That's cherry picking.
Well, refraction changes, so you
No, it's just
pick
cherry
on the
picking.
day
Then.
which has got
That's cherry picking.
conditions.
That's cherry picking. That's
Well, you're
called
cherry picking the Black
That's
Swan
called-
picture.
Sorry, let's just clarify this. We're still past it. It's called the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. So you're saying you put your little target around the shot grouping that looks the best.
The point is, the refraction conditions change.
Oh, are you
not
ignoring
the
me?
point that-
You're ignoring me.
Yeah,
That's called cherry
I'm giving
picking.
you the answer.
I've pointed out a fallacy and you've ignored it. This isn't going to go very well if you keep ignoring me. You keep ignoring me, you're a coward. Are you scared of the truth? Are you scared? Are you scared of the truth?
I'm going to give you an answer.
You keep saying the same thing. Are you scared of the truth? You don't require an answer. I've pointed out a fallacy.
I'm trying to give you an answer.
Okay, he's talking all the way through me. He's been pummeled really quick. Now I'm going to mute you. I'm going to tell you that I'm doing it. Audience, I'm muting him because he hasn't stopped talking. Verbal diarrhea. Through me pointing out for the third time that he's utilised a logical fallacy called the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, where he will put his little target around the group of shots that best suits his argument, as opposed to taking in every piece of evidence. That's also known as cherry picking. Now, that's a logical fallacy, and I want you to address that.
You twat. Your
Excuse me, that's an ad hominem attack. That's the second use of a fallacy, so I'm going to mute him again for the audience's benefit. I've muted Rumpus, because rather than attacking or rebutting his use of a fallacy that I've pointed out, he's called me a twat. That's an ad hominem attack, attacking me, the man, not the argument. So that's 2 uses of a fallacy in this instance. His first fallacy I've pointed out and he hasn't addressed. His second fallacy is now an ad hominem attack on me. So I'm going to unmute him and see if he can address the first fallacy of cherry picking. See if he addresses it.
Stop muting me, you twat. Right.
That's the third time. So I've taken him off mute and given him a chance, and he's appealed to format. Talked about the fact he's been muted. He's been muted because he had verbal diarrhea and obfuscated his logical fallacy of Texas sharpshooter, otherwise known as cherry picking, putting a target around the shot group, ignoring all evidence. Apparently that one's not good enough. It's not the right conditions for his shot group. It's a fallacy. He hasn't addressed it yet. He's ad hommed me. Then he's appealed to format and ad hom me. So don't mute me, you twat. No, don't rumpus me. Don't talk through your use of fallacy and ignore it and whistle past it and then ad hom me. So no, I'm going to take you off mute, and your choice will be to either ad hom me, appeal to format when I'm opening the mic for you to defend your use of the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, or not. It's up to you. Go.
You coward. You're the one using the...
Coward is an ad hominem attack. So he immediately opened with another fallacy. That's 4 fallacies so far. I'll reiterate for the 5th time that he's used a logical fallacy of the Texas sharpshooter, cherry picking the evidence that suits his argument. That's what he's guilty of. 5 times in a row he's defended it with fallacy. I'm going to take you off mute and see if for the 6th time in a row you attack me personally, attack the format, or, the whole point of why you're doing that, ignore the fallacy you're guilty of, cherry picking evidence. Go.
You twat, you coward.
That's the 6th time in a row he's attacked the man, called me a twat rather than addressing the argument. I'm opening the mic for a 7th time, Anthony. He's not addressing his Texas sharpshooter logical fallacy you pointed out. He wanted to whistle past it. What should I do? 8th attempt? See if he attacks me personally. It's your point, Anthony. What do you want to do?
To be honest, Nathan, given that I've got the choice, I'm going to beg for clemency for my friend Rumpus here, because I actually want to have a conversation with him. And I'm going to beg in return, Rumpus, that you try and avoid swearing and screeching at us, because I want to talk to you about soundly.
That's fine. So don't mute me.
Thank you.
No, I'll do what I like. I'll do what I like. Let's stop him in his tracks.
You're not going to let me speak again, you twat.
I will do precisely as I choose. Do not give me orders. I run the show. If you object to me running my show, then go away. I will do exactly as I choose. Don't give me orders. That's what I'm ordering you to do. Don't tell me what to do. I'll give the orders here, Rumpus. If you don't like that, tough luck.
You're a coward. You're the one...
That's an ad hominem attack. Boy, we've even started. That's the 7th use of a logical fallacy. 7 times, you fallacious moron. That's not an ad hominem. It's fact. Fallacious, moronic. You, fact. Stop ad homining me. That's an order.
You're a coward and you're...
Another ad hominem. Is that 9? 9 in a row. Anthony, all he can do is ad hom me. He's attacking me personally continually. You think I should allow this person to be here? Is this a reasonable debater in this section of the argument? You want to talk about soundly? He's attacked me personally 9 times.
Rumpus, I begged for clemency on your behalf, and then I begged you for kindness, and you agreed. Just stop talking and let's have a conversation.
I did want to talk to you, but he interrupted. He muted me again when I was talking to you.
That's another appeal to format.
There's nothing you can do about it.
It's another appeal to format. I run this show. You do not appreciate or respect the fact that I run this show. I am in charge. That's a fact that you don't like and don't want to accept. I am in charge here.
I'm happy to talk to you, Anthony, but if he keeps interrupting me, I can't do that, can I?
Just stop talking to him and address me instead. Can you do that?
Okay, but I just want to say he's the one using the sharpshooter fallacy, not me. But I
Don't
think the black
say
swan,
things like
that is a sharpshooter.
So what he's now done, Anthony, is reverse the burden of proof. So he's juxtaposed his logical fallacy and not addressed it. He's now said, I'm guilty of something. I've not claimed anything. You, Anthony, have claimed he's guilty of cherry picking. I've asked him to address it, and on 9 times, he's attacked me. Now he's reversing the fallacy you've claimed he's guilty of, and claiming me, who's not claimed a damn thing, is guilty of the fallacy he's used. It's infuriating, Anthony, and no reasonable man would see it as anything other than totally infuriating. I haven't claimed a damn thing, Rumpus.
Hey, all right, let me address it. Nathan said, I pointed the finger at you, Rumpus, for cherry picking. And Nathan agrees that it is cherry picking if you go on days that are not suiting your model and only going on getting results that favour your perception. That is, by definition, cherry picking. Now, I think that you can be dishonest.
He hasn't finished talking, so I've got to mute you, Rumpus. You fucking coward. Yeah, I can do it too, you coward. He hasn't finished talking, so I've got to control you because I'm in charge of you. And I'm going to put you under control because you started talking through him, didn't you? Disrespectful little twat. Coward. Let's not Rumpus the truth. Let's let Anthony have his say. Don't talk, Rumpus, or I'll have to control you. Shut up. Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead, Anthony. We'll see if Rumpus immediately talks. I suspect he will.
Rumpus, he's going to kick you if you don't just listen for a minute. Just listen, right? Okay. Forget about the cherry picking thing.
He's incapable. He thinks you've already made a point, Anthony. You're yet to actually make a point. All you've done is said that's cherry picking. And we've had, 5 minutes? He's still yet to address his cherry picking. He's claimed I'm cherry picking something. For the love of God, no, I'm not. I'm pointing out Anthony's highlighted your cherry picking. You've claimed I am. Complete buffoonery because you're a moron. You've also used 9 logical fallacies and attacked me on 9 separate occasions for addressing the fact that you haven't actually got to the point. You using a fallacy. He's now going to expand on that, and you think he's already made his point? Yeah, he has. You're cherry picking. Hello? Go ahead, Anthony. I'll have to keep him on mute because he can't not talk through you.
It's obvious that you're cherry picking, Rumpus, right? And I know you're going to defend it, but I don't actually want to talk about the cherry picking allegation. I want to talk about Soundly, because as you know, there's the black swan evidence, and I'm wondering if we can see the horizon at 10 miles behind the second platform, and we say it looks pretty flat, and you say it's actually the refracted horizon, then I'd like to apply that against Soundly's work critically and see whether Soundly's work showing Earth curve or is it showing something else, refracted horizon. Now, every baller I've ever spoke to says that Soundly shows Earth curve. Now, I'd like to know if you can just answer that one question. Do you think that Soundly shows Earth curve or not?
Right, let's get it straight. The cherry picking is going on is with the black swan picture, but you were right to say that I am picking some things rather than others.
No, Rumpus, it's not.
Anthony, I can't.
Jesus.
Anthony, go ahead, Rumpus.
I just had, 5 words I got then? Jesus Christ. Right, I'm going to respond to you, Anthony, properly with everything, the points you're making. Yes, you can argue I've made a selection on the benign conditions for the black swan image, whereas and you are saying, well, the conditions you're picking are correct. But with refraction, you get different conditions. So the trick is to determine which ones most closely reflect reality. Now, going on to the Soundly thing, his images often and repeatedly show in benign conditions the Earth, the bridge curving and the Earth curving. So it does reflect that, but that doesn't take away the point you're making, which is that refraction changes. And so you've got to be careful not to pick a day in which you get weird conditions like occurs with the black swan image, because in the black swan location, you've got this cold current, and particularly this time of year, you've got warmer air coming over cold water, and that leads you in that particular place very often to high refractive conditions.
Rumpus, stop talking, let me respond. All I've done is literally in the pre-show that you weren't privy to. I just went back to one of Soundly's previous videos. Nathan, would you present my screen? And Rumpus, if you've not got the live feed on, would you put it on so you can see what I'm looking at? Because you're going to need to see what I'm looking at, okay? Now, I'm going to assume that Rumpus is doing what I've asked him to do and he's getting it on the live feed, okay? So this particular video from Soundly, Lake Pontchartrain Causeway 3, Nikon P900, dated 27th of June 2017. Rumpus and his friends claim that we are seeing the curvature of Earth. So in the background, I'm just going to play the snips from where he builds up to it so that everyone can see what we're looking at. Ignore my phone. And what we can see here is that he's clearly, like, at the most, he's 6 feet above the water, if assuming that Soundly is greater than 6 feet. I don't know how tall Soundly is, but let's just say that he's 6 feet off the water. we know that at 6 foot high above the water, the horizon, the geometric horizon on your model, is 3 miles away. Now I'm going to play what we can see. So according to Soundly's own evidence, so we're now applying it to what we can see. Now, when he zooms in, we can see that these mile markers have got 1/10 of a mile each post. And we can see into the distance, it becomes that obscured and squashed that we can't really make out how many we're looking at. But what we can make out is that there is the first hump where the boats go through, and there is the second hump in the background where the boats go through. So we can use the mile markers, and we can use the humps of the bridges for where the boats pass under for the distance. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Google Earth. And as you can see, I've plotted, I found out which side of the bridge he was at. He was at this side that's down here. I'll show it. So I'm not sure how you guys reference this. The Metairie side. He's on the Metairie side, whatever that means. I'm not familiar with the area. Obviously, I'm a Brit. But I found where he is. So if I move this ruler out of the way a minute, this concrete block here, and it's quite awkward to use this, and these buildings here are represented at the beginning of the video, which is here. So these buildings in the background, pay attention to this concrete block. This tall building, the concrete block, that is represented by this concrete building here, and then the building that's there in the background, which you can just about see. Now, there we go. So I know where Soundly was when he took it. I know the horizon is 3 miles away. What we need to know is how far away is the bridge thing, the pass under for the bridges. So if I now zoom out a little bit and I go across, I'm looking for I can't remember what the name of these things are. They've got a weird name, a word that I'm not familiar with. But I can find the parts where the bridges go, where the boats go under. So all I'm doing is I'm looking for the tramway. I'm going to call it a tramway. It's not a tramway, but a guide. There we go. There's one of them. And we see that in the image from Soundly when it gets to about here. There's the first one that's in the picture now. There's the first one. So what we're looking for is where the second one is. And as we know, the horizon is the point where the sky appears to meet the sea or the land. And we see the second one in the image. So I'm looking for the second one, which is here. And this point would be the point where the bridges go, the boats go underneath. It's the apex of the bridge. And we do see the apex, but we see it coming back down on the other side as well. So we can safely and reliably say that it's some distance away from it. I don't know exactly how far, but I've put it to an arbitrary point that's around about here. But the problem is when you put your line in, it says that it's 16 miles away. So we can see that it is about 16 miles away for the distance for where the sky appears to meet the land. But if it's a geometric edge that this is showing, the curvature of Earth, that would require a geometric edge at 3 miles, but we're seeing 16. So we would say that's an atmospheric effect called, whatever, like bit of fog, whatever we want to call it. And we would say it's not the geometric curvature of Earth the way that we were told when Soundly first brought this stuff out. However, Rumpus has got to argue that this is the geometric edge, but it's clearly not.
Stop. Go ahead, Rumpus.
Right, you seem to be confused by seeing the top of that hump, not the bottom. The bottom, even the first one, you probably can't quite see the base of the leg. So you're getting confused between seeing the top of something, which is obviously much higher than the horizon, and the base of this thing. The base of this thing is well behind the horizon. I mean, you're utterly confused.
I agree.
Let me respond, Rumpus.
Hold on.
So,
I agree. You're talking about the top stanchions, and he's talking about the horizon.
yeah, but hang on. The first one goes up and then it comes down, and we see by the continuation of the road that it does come down. So we can safely say we're seeing all of the first rise and then fall.
Anthony, the bottom, we can't even see the bottom. I think I'm right in saying here we can't even see the bottom of the first one.
Yeah, we can. The first one is here.
The bottom leg of the first one, and we certainly can't see the bottom. The bottom leg of the second one is well below the horizon. And you were arguing, I think you were implying that we could see 16 miles on the surface of the sea, but we can't. We can see 16 miles to something.
Anthony, stop. Carry on, Rumpus. Sorry.
Right. So the point is, Anthony, you made some mention of 16 miles, and as though that was a problem. But yes, with the thing that's 16 miles away that you can see is up in the air. It's not.
That's because you're not looking at the horizon. We're seeing the first hump, Rumpus. Hang on, let me respond. We're seeing the first hump and it comes back down and continues on. We see the apex of the second hump, and it comes back down. And at some point, I agree, we can no longer see. But we're not at the horizon at this point. The horizon is the point where the sea appears to meet the sky. So it's some point beyond the apex.
But Anthony, the bit that when we start to lose things from the bottom up is much closer. It's near that first pillar. That's where the horizon things are over the horizon, is by the first pillar. The fact that we can see things up in the air, it's like saying you can see an aeroplane. The horizon doesn't interfere with that. If you want to talk about the hidden amount, I think that first pole you've got, it's probably just on the horizon. So the horizon is at the first pole. I don't know how far you said that was away.
Well, let's figure that out.
Hold
on, Anthony. Let me just acknowledge. Can you just acknowledge that you understood what Rumpus has just explained to you?
Yeah, Rumpus is saying, I don't know what you're referring to with the first pole. Are you referring to this pole?
No, the next one along.
No, the first bridge. Sorry, okay, the first bridge thing you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when the bridge comes back down,
that thing,
the causeway again.
So we're only just able to see the base.
One at a time.
You need to go further.
Hold on, both of you.
Get to the horizon.
Hold on, just one of you at a time. I just want Anthony to acknowledge what you've said, Rumpus, and he's now hovering over the correct position, but he's not hovering over the correct
Hold on,
Rumpus.
That.
Rumpus, I'm trying to clarify your position. Just move your mouse down, Anthony, to the horizon. Right. That's where he's saying. That's the distance.
But the problem is there's more distance involved. And to go with this bit here being the horizon is incorrect, Rumpus. It's where the sky, in this case the bridge, meets the surface of the water. And we haven't got to that point. We're not at the point of convergence. So you need to go further. And we can see that there is another hump. We see the apex of the hump, and again, that's not the horizon.
Hold on, Anthony. Hold on, Anthony. Anthony, you can let him respond. He's disagreeing. I just want to hear him disagree. Go ahead, Rumpus.
Right, Anthony, just because there's a bit sticking out from the horizon, that doesn't mean to say that we're talking about whether or not the base of that arch, whatever it is obscured by the horizon. And I believe that it's just about on the verge of the horizon. The base of that thing, the first bridge thing, the base of that pillar where it meets the water is obscured by the horizon. The fact that the thing's got height is irrelevant. The point is, you can obviously see things that are higher up because the hidden value in the Earth curve calculator tells you how much of something is hidden. And it will tell you, I suspect, that for that pillar that we see there that's part of that bridge, it'll probably say there's just a few feet missing. And then the horizon obviously obscures more and more.
Okay, hold on, Rumpus. Hold on. Go ahead, Anthony. Can I just see a final response to this? Because, like I say, there's more investigation to establish precisely. I'm not agreeing with either of you at this stage. I'm just saying more is required to figure out what the horizon point that you're trying to define is. But I just want your closing remarks, and then I've got a quick question for Rumpus, and hopefully we can move on.
Well, for Rumpus's point to be valid, that deprives me the depth of field that we still see in the image, and that's evidence that we can use. Now, I don't accept that the horizon is where he says it is, because we've got far more depth. And we know that the closer to the horizon we get, we know that the distance between the miles gets more and more compressed because of convergence. And that's what I'm being deprived of if you limit me to the point
I got your point.
See in the image.
Okay, we got it. Rumpus, go ahead.
Right, you don't seem to understand, Andy. We talk about the things, their bases being obscured by the horizon. So the horizon is the first time something gets obscured, the base of something. And I believe, looking at that the base of that first bridge is being obscured by the horizon. Obviously, the top of it's not being obscured. That's why we have the hidden value in the Earth curve calculator. We tell you how much from the base something is missing. And obviously, the second bridge thing, you're missing great wads of it behind the horizon.
Okay, thank you.
But
I think we got your point. Thank you, both of you. Brilliant. So my question, Rumpus. This horizon... is that a geometric horizon?
Yeah, that horizon, yeah. I can't hear you.
I'll say it really slowly and really clearly as I move my mouse over what I'm asking you about. Is this a geometric horizon?
No, it's an apparent horizon.
Oh, that's redundant. All horizons are apparent. What are you babbling about?
Correct.
I'll ask again. Is that a no? I'll just clarify your answer. Did you say no, it's not a geometric horizon?
It's an apparent horizon.
That's
and
redundant.
It's not
second time.
A
It's a yes or no. Closed question. I'll ask third time. See if he obfuscates. I think I got a no. You said no, it's apparent. Apparent's redundant. Is it still a no, regardless of the apparent redundancy you've inserted? Is this horizon geometric? Yes or no?
It is it is an apparent horizon.
All horizons are apparent. I've heard that.
Let me answer.
I heard all horizons are apparent. We've covered that.
Give me 5 seconds.
Shut up. Second time is obfuscated with the same shit answer. All horizons are apparent. That word is redundant. I just need a yes or no. I'll ask it for a third time. Is this horizon geometric?
There's a special term for geometric horizon, and that is one in which you use straight lines. It is a function of the Earth's geometry plus refraction. There are two factors. There's part of the Earth's geometry, and then the refraction moves it. So there are two factors, two causes for the position of the apparent horizon. One, Earth geometry. Two, refraction. They come together to give you the apparent horizon.
So I'll ask for a third time. Is that a no? This horizon is not.
There's a special term.
I'm talking. I let you speak unimpededly. Why are you censoring me? Ladies and gentlemen, see, this is why I've got no choice. Fourth time. I'm trying to gain clarity from your saying that what we see is based upon something geometric, but also something that is nothing to do with geometry. That would be refraction. Now, your refraction's based on geometry. That would be an R-value-based refraction. I'm asking a simple yes or no question for the fourth time. Is this horizon geometric? Yes.
It has a geometric basis, yes, plus refraction.
Geometric basis, so it's not geometric then?
There's when we talk about the geometric horizon, that's a special thing. It's the horizon when you're just using straight lines. But the Earth's geometry plus refraction gives you that horizon, which is based on the Earth's geometry, but we don't call it the geometric horizon because the geometric horizon is a special term that is for when you're using straight lines for the light rays. So
we don't call this the geometric horizon. We don't call it that, meaning it's not that. We don't call this the geometric horizon, according to you.
Correct.
So it's not the geometric horizon.
Correct.
So your model has got a geometric horizon. It's marked with an X and labelled horizon in your geometric model. And this horizon is not that. We only have one horizon. Your model's horizon is geometric.
No, we have a geometric horizon and we have
No, we
an
don't.
horizon.
You've just made it perfectly plain, Rumpus, that we don't have one. I had it on screen and you made it plain that that is not the geometric horizon. Your model...
Correct.
You're talking... Yeah, I know you said correct. You don't need to talk through me while I reiterate the point that your model has a horizon. Its horizon, your reification of a sphere Earth that excludes perspective, it's the geometric horizon. It's marked with an X, labelled horizon, and apparent based on height. However, as you've just disclaimed, the horizon we observe is not that.
Correct.
Right. Thank you very much, Rumpus. That's all I need from you. We don't have a geometric horizon, ladies and gentlemen, by the admission of the fundies. The model has a geometric horizon. The sphere model, globe model you think you're living on if you're a fundy, has a geometric horizon. We only have one horizon. It's not geometric.
And it also means that Soundly is not showing the curvature of Earth. But then the question is, well, what is Soundly showing, Rumpus? Which is the overall point that I wanted to ask. Because if we were all told it was Earth curve, but as we know it's not Earth curving, what is Soundly actually showing?
Showing refractive effects, atmospheric effects. He's not showing geometry. That's all that matters. His model's based in geometry, and he hasn't got a geometric Earth curve edge for a horizon. The model's got one, but the pictures don't. It's game over.
Get an answer from Rumpus.
No, that's the end of his time here. What more do you want from him?
Oh, is he gone?
What more do you want from him?
I wanted the concession that Soundly's works not showing the geometric curvature of the Earth.
He's already conceded that. He's already. I've got him to concede that. I drew my mouse over it and asked him if it was the geometric curve. I asked him if it was a geometric horizon. He said that is not the geometric horizon. Is it the geometric horizon? No, it's not. Correct. No, it's not. I've already got the answer for you.
I just wanted the application to Soundly so that in future we could soundbite it and say, well, Rumpus, your leading expert on refraction, says that Soundly is not showing the geometric curve of the Earth. That was what I wanted. Oh, with his head.
He has. That's precisely what he's done. We've got his images on screen. I've drawn a mouse over it, asked him specifically, is this a geometric horizon? Answer, no. The model, he does the mathematics though. That's got a geometric horizon. How many horizons do we actually have, Anthony?
Just one, Nathan.
And it's not geometric, like the model says it is. Right, that's the end of geometric sphere Earth assumptions. Bye-bye globe model, bye-bye R value giving you a geometric horizon. It's not this. They admit it.
So let's move the argument forward now, in the context of Black Swan, because the ballers are clearly getting cheesed off with Black Swan. Let's move it to the next base and say, right, if the Black Swan argument's bugging you lot, is Soundly's work geometric or not? And they're all going to say, yeah, it is. And we all know it's not. It's apparent. So it's non-geometric, right? So it's atmospheric. So it's not Earth curve. If it's not Earth curve, then Soundly's work's redundant. It's gone. It's obsolete. It's invalidated. It's been superseded by current science that tells us that the horizon is apparent. And Rumpus supports that. Thanks very much, Rumpus. Thanks for joining today.
He supports that we don't have a geometric horizon. This is not geometric, according to Rumpus. It's apparent. His mathematics of a sphere Earth do not deal in anything to do with apparent anything. Everything's an actual size, a feet and inches value. He even described how many feet and inches would be blocked by the physical geometry of the horizon. He later went on to deny. So he's going to use actual sizes and absolutely not use apparent sizes. So if he's telling us how apparent everything is that we see, his calculator can't cope with that. It's a geometric calculator with a geometric horizon, and actual sizes doesn't deal in apparent anything. So yeah, it's not just Soundly that falls on its arse. It's everything that asserts a heliocentric world based in an R value.
He actually did concede that the first time you asked him that. He just didn't want to repeat it.
Right. Babs has been waiting in the wings. Yeah. Hold on, let's just queue up Paul and Babs. Paul, you there?
Hey, Paul, are you still there?
I am. I just can't talk. I can still do the thing, though. Just
cool.
Send me in.
Ready when you are, Babs. Got a picture of Earth with rods and sun rays.
Right. So if you remember last week, we covered how they were able to measure Earth's radius. Now, I made a subtle mistake just because when I did make this presentation, I had just taken a cursory glance at the information. So once I went over it in a little bit more detail, I just want to correct the subtle mistake that I made. It doesn't really make much of a difference, but it helps for context. So basically how they measured the radius was they took two separate data points and they measured the variance in shadow length. And the assumption that was made here was that varying degrees of shadow lengths are only possible on a spherical surface. And I'm going to demonstrate that that's not true. And that is where the assumption was made. They assumed that you can only get varying shadow lengths on a spherical surface, but I'm going to prove otherwise right now. Next image, please. I think we're going to need some harp music.
Elevator music. There we go.
Elevator music. Here we go. Okay, so this is just rehashing what we talked about last week, how if we were to measure shadow angles, they would intersect at some point. If we extend those two lines from those shadows, they will eventually intersect to form an obtuse triangle. And based on that, you can extrapolate what the radius would be using the circumference formula and pi. So next image, please. So here we can see that you can vary the length of shadows on a planar surface, and this is varied based on the proximity of the light source to the object that's being lit. So if the light source is lower, if it's lower than, if it moves lower, then the shadow is going to be longer, but if it's higher up, then the shadow's length is going to decrease. So this is based on the distance and proximity with the light to the object that's being lit. And this isn't dependent on the shape of the surface, because this can happen on any surface. It doesn't matter if it's curved or flat, this effect will still happen. So what they assumed was that it would only be possible on a spherical surface, and this disproves that completely. Next image, please. Here's just another example of what I'm talking about here. We can see that based on the proximity of the light source to the object that's being lit, that the shadow lengths vary, and this is on a planar surface. Next image. Okay, so now that we have debunked the R value and proven that it was fallacious in the means that were used to determine that we actually are on a spherical Earth that does have a radius. This next example here is somewhat related to what we're talking about before, because it also deals with angles and how the angles change based on proximity. Now, we've heard this before from the globe earthers, that the only way that we would be able to notice a 10-degree change in altitude when viewing Polaris is if we were viewing it on a spherical surface. And in reality, what we do observe is that the latitudes that we observe Polaris from are equal to the angles that we observe Polaris from those specific latitudes. So, for example, if I'm at the 30th degree latitude, I would be observing Polaris at a 30-degree angle. Or if I'm at the 60th degree latitude, I would be looking at it at a 60-degree angle. So the argument here is that this type of observation is only possible on a spherical surface, because as we move away from that 90-degree mark, we start to have the curvature or the geometry of Earth obstructing what we're looking at in the sky. And this image that is above here demonstrates that if we were observing this from a flat surface, the angles wouldn't match up. They would be completely different. All right, so next image, please. Excellent. So how they arrived at that conclusion was, what they did was they chose a fixed position for Polaris, and they measured the angles that would be required to observe Polaris based on that fixed position. So we can see that the only angles that match on a flat surface are the 90-degree angle and the 45-degree angle. And it is true that this is only possible. I mean, that it is true that we wouldn't get matching angles as we see in reality, where the latitude is is equal or equivalent to the angle that we're observing Polaris, but this is based on a fixed location. And this is not how we see things in reality. In reality, we see apparent distances and apparent positions of things based on perspective. So the further away we move from Polaris, its apparent position shifts based on perspective. And that hasn't been included in this particular diagram. They just work with one fixed position and say that because this fixed position doesn't match the angles that we see in reality, then this is impossible on a flat surface. And that couldn't be further from the truth. This is the hijacking of perspective that we've been discussing for several years now, where they completely ignore the effect of perspective and say that we're only looking at things at their actual positions or at their actual distances, which is true. We are looking at them at their actual distances, but perspective shifts the actual distance of what we're looking at and moves it to an apparent position, which I'm going to demonstrate next. Next image, please. Right. So here, what I did was I took a protractor just to measure the angles that we would observe in reality based on those distances. So for every 1 degree in length on this particular ruler here, 1 degree represents 69 miles. So 10 degrees would be 690 miles. So for every 690 miles, we notice a 10-degree drop in altitude for Polaris. And this is a constant drop, which we would observe based on perspective. So if you could just go through all those images, it would give you an idea of what we would expect to see and how this is analogous to realities. Next image, please. We're just going to cycle through these real quick, just so that you can see the apparent change in distance. So you can see it shifts right there. Next image, please. You don't have to open every single one of them because there are quite a few of them. This just demonstrates that the apparent position drops based on your distance away from it. So just, keep going down. You can see that the position is dropping all the way to 0. And that's what we see in reality as a result of perspective. Now for the last image here, I just want to use this as an example of this effect, this perspective effect. If you could open up the image of the light poles. So we can see here that the third light pole isn't smaller than the first light pole. Its apparent size has changed, or its angular size has decreased in relationship to everything around it. So the top of this light pole isn't shorter than the top of the first light pole. The top of the third light pole isn't shorter than the top of the first. Its apparent size and its angular size has changed to give it that effect that it is lower than the first light pole, but we know that it isn't lower. And this is what's happening with Polaris. With distance, we notice that the angle decreases, our viewing angle changes, and that changes the angle, the angular position of Polaris. But they've chosen to hijack that and say that because that's happening, we are on a curved surface. That would be tantamount to them taking a sextant and measuring this third light pole and saying that this third light pole is 20 degrees lower than the first light pole, therefore we're on a curved surface, completely ignoring perspective, hijacking it, and saying that perspective is Earth curve. All right, I'm done.
Excellent presentation. About 5 years ago, a guy called Smokescreen Design did a very similar presentation, and you've done a better job and expanded on it slightly with your extension with this visual demonstration. Excellent job. Really good, Babs. Kudos.
Thanks a lot.
Your presentation skills have come on leaps and bounds, actually. I don't know if you've had like a second wind in this subject or something, but like in the last few weeks you've done several presentations that have all been really shit hot.
Oh yeah, I've been practicing since my first presentation on this show. I feel like I'm getting a little bit more confident and better at it. I still feel like I could do better than this, but yeah, I'm definitely working on improving.
Well, as I say, there was a similar presentation to my Smokescreen Design. I've shared it quite a lot. I'll probably trim out that presentation and share that instead because I think it's better. So that's high praise. Well, I don't know what else I can say. I mean, the standards are pretty high on this show in general. People's presentations are normally of a very high standard. So, Paul does lots of presentations, and his presentations tend to be very, very good. Other people do presentations that they just haven't got the level of spit and polish they require. But I can't think of any specific examples. I didn't sleep and worry.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of our explanations don't really have examples to go with them. And it helps for the people watching if they have sort of visuals to visualize what we're talking about. It certainly does help because we can keep saying perspective or angular size change, but people can't visualize that. So when they see exactly what we're talking about, that definitely helps.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they've hijacked perspective and called it Earth curve for both ground-based observations and sky-based observations. They've used the same trick in both instances. Insert an R value that we've debunked.
Yeah,
no longer have.
Exactly. Like with the observations of Polaris from different latitudes, they're literally just using a protractor because a sextant is a protractor. So if I go to different latitudes and I notice an angular size change and completely ignore perspective, then I could say that I'm on a globe based on that, but I'm not really being honest or realistic because things change. The apparent distances of things that we're observing change based on perspective. That is a fact. Even children know that as a fact, but we have to keep explaining this to globe earthers. It's weird. I just don't understand why they don't get it.
Yeah, well, they've been brainwashed. We had Professor Dave, in quotes, putting a question forward in regards to seeing things at 1,000-mile distance. Now, the reason he's phrased the question as he has is because in his model of the Earth with its geometry, the feet and inches value will remain the same at any distance. So it doesn't matter what value you put. If you draw on a piece of paper a guy on the left of the page and a lighthouse on the right-hand side of the page, and then you draw a line between the two and say that line is 100 meters or 100,000. It doesn't matter what you put on the value. The feet and inches value or the meters value for both of those things, the guy looking at it and the target, remains exactly the same. You can scale it up to 1,000,000 kilometers. And the target, it doesn't matter that you've written 1,000,000 on that line, you've still got the same size target. So according to that depiction, because they've removed perspective from their geometry maths with a physical Earth curve edge for a horizon, they don't expect us to have to include perspective when we're looking at something at 1,000 miles, according to his challenge. So, well, things get smaller. Your feet and inches value that you constantly assert as being lobbed off the bottom of things when they're very small in the distance is an angular relationship. But you're talking about an actual size and how much feet or meters is blocked from the bottom. And then assuming that you'd see New York from London, or New York from Wales, or New York from Ireland, I should say. The point being that it would be too small. Its angular size has got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller till it's too small to see, and then beyond. So, yeah, in theory, you could get something that was a big enough telescope and bring it back at those distances. You could calculate how much you would need in terms of the size of the aperture, the magnification required, with the Rayleigh criteria. So you use the Rayleigh criterion, you apply it, and then you know how far away you could see something at a given size in feet and inches, but it would be translatable to the angular size and the limitations of the aperture, and at what distance, based on the aperture, something would reach and breach the angular resolution limit. All of this is completely ignored in the Earth curve maths. How do you know? Well, because it's a feet and inches value that never changes.
Right. That's a problem with Muppet vision. It never includes angular size change, and it never includes atmospheric effects, which are things that we do observe in reality. Just like with the Polaris example, if you were to draw a fixed location on a piece of paper, and you started drawing angles from the ground to that fixed location, that doesn't represent reality, because you're using a fixed position, and we know that in reality, when you move further away from things, their position changes. So basically, all they've done is just looked at shifting positions of things in the distance and said that Earth curve is responsible for that, and completely ignored perspective.
Or to rephrase it, as I had done when I ridiculed the Earth curve calculator, they've hijacked perspective. That effect is the effect they call Earth curve. So you're saying with the example of the lampposts that the lampposts, the top of it, the actual size of each lamppost is identical, but the angular, you said angular size. I knew you meant angular position, but it's only a minor correction. But the angular position of each of the tops of those lampposts is decreasing. It's dropping towards the horizon. Well, if that was a star or a light bulb on top of it, analogous to a star, I know there were telegraph poles, it's not the point. Don't be pedantic, audience members and chat commenters, I hate you all. Anyway, if there's a light on top of those telegraph poles, and that light's analogous to a star, well, obviously the star that's further away is closer to the horizon. Well, does that mean that we've angled ourselves back on the sphere edge? Well, no, it's an effect of perspective. But they've completely ignored it in both stellar and terrestrial observations, both of which are asserting that the effects of perspective are actually Earth curve. Hijacking perspective, basically.
Yeah, and that's why you have toothless crackheads that live in trailers like Sean Hawkins. Man, in the comments trying to call me a moron, but you're Popeye the Sailor Man. Sean Hawkins. Okay. You're not a scientist.
Yeah, don't poke the trolls.
Ask Sean if he has misplaced his geometric horizon the same way Rumpus has. Maybe he wants to come on here and tell us where it is, how we can find it. Because apparently we've never seen it.
The problem with Sean Hawkins is he tries to persuade people that the burden of proof is on us to prove flat Earth. And I'm like, what? You can't have any conversation with a guy that tells us that tells everyone that the burden of proof is on us. It isn't. It's clearly on science.
Burden of proof's on whoever's making the claim.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I know. I just need to remind people that the burden of proof is on science to prove that we live on the sphere that they tell us that we live on. It's absolutely not on us to prove otherwise. We're just asking for the proof. That's all we're doing.
No, that was back in the day when, they asserted that there was all this proof for scientific proof for the globe. Now they don't say that anymore, right? Now it's science doesn't prove things, apparently. That's their new stance.
You have one or two morons on their side that have key things that they stick to, and his key thing is that he thinks the burden of proof is on flat earthers to prove the Earth's flat. And I'm like, you idiot. We're not even saying that. Yeah, we might be suggesting it, but we are definitely saying we're not on a sphere, right? And it is your burden to prove that we are if you tell people that we've got curvature, gravity, axial rotation, etc. Hence why we have the housekeeping points, right? There are other people that have key points as well. Sean Little G doesn't accept Einsteinian gravity as the current science because he doesn't understand it. It's like, hello, just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's not the current position by your science.
Sean Little G still has to figure out whether rockets are actually matter or not. So he's still got a way to go.
Couple of things. When you say they now say science doesn't prove things, the reason for that is because we have demonstrated unequivocally that what they used to claim was science proving things is actually pseudoscience not proving a damn thing. So just to clarify, when a fundy glowhead religitard zealot that thinks he's on a spinning ball flying through a sky vacuum says science doesn't prove things, what they actually mean is the pseudoscience I've been clinging to proves nothing. Science, on the other hand, absolutely proves things. It proves cause and effect. It validates, proves, or disproves your prediction, hypothesis. That's the point of doing it. To validate a hypothesis, to prove or disprove that which you assume causes an effect, is to validate scientifically, by means of experimentation, a hypothesis. So it does prove things. That's why people do it. So science proves things. Their pseudoscience they used to assert proved the sphere doesn't prove things. So no. Science proves things. Your pseudoscience doesn't. Let's not get confused about what science does. Just because you were using, you fundy globeheads were using pseudoscience. And just foolishly asserting it as though it was science, you were wrong. Doesn't mean science doesn't prove things. Just means you don't have any science.
You guys remember back in the day when they used to say, the body of science, Nathan?
Yeah, Rumpus used to say that. The whole body of science proves that we're on a sphere. Not anymore. Now, science doesn't prove anything. It's meaning pseudoscience that we used was debunked. Now we're going to claim it doesn't prove anything anyway, because they're sore losers. No, science is still empirical. It still proves cause and effect. It still does the same thing it ever did. You just didn't have it when you said you did.
Science had a body.
Yeah, that's
How
right.
about Lip?
Correct. They're reifying science as an entity with sentience and thoughts and a body and eyes and feelings often. It's a method. Correct. Well said.
The other thing to remember is when they say things like, when they're meaning ballers, when ballers say, science doesn't prove anything, just spit them back. Well, it doesn't prove that we live on a sphere then, does it either? Oops.
I had a couple of commenters say this to me about you, Anthony. They said, Anthony has said on multiple occasions that science doesn't prove the Earth is flat. And my response was, the Earth being flat isn't a cause and effect relationship. It's just beyond me. The objection to you stating, which is correct, no, science doesn't prove the Earth is flat, because the Earth is flat as a statement isn't a natural phenomena that needs establishment for cause. So no, Anthony's right. But you asking or objecting to that, well, you should have scientific evidence for the Earth is flat. That's a totally nonsensical question, phraseology for something that demonstrates admirably that the commenters who say things like that don't know what science is.
Is it not the case that they question what I said? The phrase I normally use is, there is no science for a flat Earth. Now, it's an innuendo. You can interpret it two ways. You can interpret it probably more. But if I say there's no science for a flat Earth, you can, if you're a baller, you can say, well, that means the Earth's a sphere then, by inference. Or you can say all the science has been focused on the heliocentric model because R is assumed. So it depends on how you interpret it. It's an innuendo when I say it like that on purpose to stimulate conversation. So that they can ask me, what is it you mean by that? Because most people should recognize that it's an innuendo.
And with that, I'm going to say, if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where just a couple of super chats I've not read out. Let's do that before I round out the show. So, massive shout out to, first and foremost, Chico Toei, or Tojay, says, Rumpus talks nothing but rubbish. Totally agree. Thank you very much for the super chat. Colin Turner, also shout out to you. Rumpus said that the Earth's geometry is a cause. But how can that be tested? Fail! Shout out to Colin Turner, thank you very much for the super chat. And also Passaway Toe, it says, our reality has been hijacked by parasites. Absolutely correct. Thank you very much, all of you, for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making this live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!